Hey everyone, and welcome back to Assassin's Creed Origins Discovery Tour. On this video, we're going to be doing the tour Bringer of Life, the River Nile. And this one is under the Egypt category, right here. Okay, here I am on the map in the Eneb Nome. And let's change the character. We're going to be Cleopatra the 7th Philopator, which I'm sure I said wrong. Descendant of Alexander the Great's general, Ptolemy I Soter, Queen of Egypt. Bringer of Life, the River Nile. Number of stations is 9, region Eneb Nome. Learn about the River Nile and its importance to the development of ancient Egyptian civilization. Estimated time for this one is 9 minutes, although I'm pretty sure it's longer.
Welcome to Bringer of Life, the River Nile.
Alright, we need a boat for this one.
The ancient Egyptians called the dark fertile soil of the Nile the Black Lands, and the surrounding desert was referred to as the Red Lands. The dramatic difference of productive land opposed to barren desert had a deep influence on cultural ideology, mythology, and religion. The Nile determined much of Egyptian civilization. For example, the seasonal cycle of the Nile was so consistent that ancient Egyptians created their calendar around it. The flood season, or Akhet, was when the departing floodwaters left arable soil for crops. It was followed by the growing and harvesting seasons, known as Peret and Shemu. These regular seasons, along with abundant wildlife and rich soil, meant that Egypt's denizens were able to nourish themselves and ensure their country's strength in trade.
Now, if you're wondering, you can't use the speed boost on the boat by holding R2. Does not exist in Discovery Tour, so you have to go with the normal speed.
The River Nile, flowing from the south to the north, neatly traversed through both Upper and Lower Egypt. All of Egypt's major cities were built along this narrow ribbon of life. Protected by mountain ranges and deserts which acted as natural barriers to enemies, and sustained by the Nile's plants and wildlife, Egyptian civilization enjoyed economic and cultural prosperity for over 4,000 years. Both ancient Egyptians and ancient Greeks referred to the Nile as the river in their respective languages. Stretching a distance of over 6,700 kilometers, the Nile is one of the longest rivers in the world. It flows south to north, spanning 11 countries. The River Nile originates in the region of the Great Subequatorial Lakes, including one of the largest in the world, Lake Victoria near Tanzania.
Now, as you're going along in your boat, you may see some alligators and some hippos. In the game, they would attack you, but on Discovery Tour, they're nice. So don't be a jerk and run them over. Well, I suppose you could, but it's not a very nice thing to do now, is it? Oops! I guess those don't start fires here.
The river flows through African equatorial forests, swamps, volcanic lands, steppes, and deserts, splitting apart for a while and picking up various sediments from each region and carrying them all the way to Egypt. Its main artery, known as the White Nile, rejoins with the Blue Nile in Khartoum. This is where it weaves through rich deposits of silt and nutrients, carrying them along in its wake.
Hey buddy, you're interrupting the tour. Some people have no respect for these tours. If I'm not mistaken, that is... Wait, is that Memphis coming up? No, we're too far north from Memphis. That's, Oh, what's that city called? Now I gotta check. That is Letopolis. That's right.
The Nile crosses 6 cataracts from the south to the north, creating natural obstacles between the various sections of the river. The cataracts are long zones of about 100 kilometers, where the bubbling and rapidly swirling waters advance tumultuously amid enormous heaps of rocks and benches of hard stone. It is after crossing Nubia and the first cataract that the river officially returns to Egypt in Aswan. There are still 1,000 kilometers before it reaches Cairo and the Delta, bringing life to those living on its shores before it eventually empties into the Mediterranean Sea.
I always love the wildlife in this game. The birds flying through the air, especially when they take off when you approach. Giant flocks of birds that fly up into the air. It's fantastic.
Ancient Egyptian irrigation and water use was centered around the Nile. However, they also had access to streams and rivers, as well as several large lakes. The delta, situated at the north end of the Nile, also known as Lower Egypt, is a large irrigated area where the river splits into several tributaries.
Oh, it's starting to get dark on us. Good thing we're ending this tour soon. I was hoping to find a hippo, but I didn't see one.
The delta had several major brackish coastal lakes, bodies of water separated from the sea by thin strips of land. A mix of deep to shallow waters, salt swamps, and sand plains, these lakes were refuge to a wealth of species, as well as water and land plants. The occasional bandit could also be found sheltering within the denser reeds, waiting for the unwary traveler.
Okay, and that concludes the tour. Let's go ahead and check out our entire list of tours. Keep those suggestions coming, guys. I've been doing the tours you've been asking for, so just keep leaving comments of what you want to see, and I will get to those sooner rather than later. And there we go. So there's the list you have to choose from. Let me know what you want. So we are all done here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.